I've spent 100 hours on making the most comprehensive list on top paying income streams for artists. And one of these income streams in this list made me over 20k in one weekend alone. All it takes is for you to execute on one of these things in this list to change your entire life. The first way, selling through print-on-demand services. Now, print-on-demand companies are companies that are going to print your artworks on t-shirts, mugs, prints, anything that you can imagine. And what's more important, if you work with them, one of the main benefits is that you don't have to invest anything upfront. They will do all the shipping and all the logistics and all the manufacturing for you. In exchange, you just simply pay them for that. You do the selling, they make everything. The downside is that, first of all, you need an audience in order to do this. And if you want to work with some of these print-on-demand companies that have an audience for you, so you don't even need that, then the competition is going to be insane on their platform. If you look at one of the best artists in the world at this moment, Damien Hirst, one of the richest artists, he is doing that. He is printing his art on skateboards and all sorts of things. Number 2, art material subscription box services. This is a great thing because it is recurring revenue on a monthly basis. Now, the main downside here is that, again, you need some kind of audience, and it's also very heavy on the fulfillment, packaging, logistics side of the equation. A great example that you might be familiar with is Jazza, one of those famous YouTubers, slightly younger audience, so you might not be familiar with it, but he does this and obviously makes a lot of money doing this. The third one is one of my top 5 favorites on this list and have a lot of experience with it. I discovered it on an art fair in London, so let me tell you the story. So I arrive at this fair. I nervously unpack all of my art. Now, this is very important for me because I've invested thousands of dollars in this fair, in booth costs, transportation costs, accommodation costs. I even rented a fancy Mercedes because I wanted to boost my confidence. I told myself, if this is not going to work, I will just quit art altogether. And after putting everything up in the booth, I told my assistant, a friend that was with me, to price the test piece at $500 and I will go on a round, meet some other artists. And so I go on this round. And when I arrive back from the round, to my surprise, the artwork sold. What's more is that she misunderstood the price point and she didn't price it at $500, but at $5,000. And so the truth is that I'm blown away by how easy it sometimes is to sell your art at higher price points at these art fairs. And the benefit, unlike the first 2 on this list, is that you don't actually need an audience for this. Just quality art and sales skills is going to be enough. The downside is, of course, that you need massive amounts of upfront cost in accommodation, travel. The booth fees are oftentimes starting at a couple of $1,000s, and so high investment, no guaranteed return. If you're interested in this, I made a free art fair checklist PDF with all of my best tips for art fairs. It's 20 pages long or something and completely free. Link in the description. Number 4 on this list is art therapy. A service that you can provide where you combine wellness and mental health and spirituality and psychology and making art as some kind of therapeutic tool, PTSD, trauma, revelation type of stuff. Now, the benefit here is that this is a booming market. This is definitely something that is in the uprise. Now, the downside is that you will probably need some kind of certificate, some kind of degree, some kind of normie BS from the normie world. Number 5, you've probably seen TV before in your life or some kind of movie before in your life. And what did you see in that movie? You saw a room with on the wall an artwork. All of those artworks in those movies come from artists. Artists have made them, have licensed them to those movie companies, these TV companies and all of that stuff. The benefit of doing this is that you will be working with high-level project, high-level TV series, and then you can say, well, I've worked with this and this and this TV series or this and this and this movie, and you can kind of brag about it. Now, the downside is that this is going to be a lot of work for very little pay. Number 6, designing all sorts of characters and items and little scenes for the video game industry. I don't know if you've noticed, but the video game industry has a lot of people addicted, massively addicted. And so this is just a great market where you have lots of job opportunities. You could even go indie style, make your own game, record the process, put the process recordings on YouTube, and then once your game is finished, you have a subscriber base of 70, 80, 90k subscribers, and then sell it to that audience. I've seen people with less than 100,000 subscribers on YouTube launch their video game and go into 7 figures instantly in a matter of weeks. So this is massive. Now the downside is that these game design companies, if you don't go the indie route, don't treat their employees like real persons. They absolutely abuse those employees. They absolutely take advantage of that low pay type of environment. High pressure, low pay, not the best environment. Number 7, society loves everything artistic, from music to video games to art exhibits to theater, whatever it is. But they don't see it as a valid career option, that they do not. And so what does this mean? It means that millions of people, tens of millions of people, are doing art as a hobby on the side. Hundreds of millions of people. And so you could create a mentorship program where you, as the professional artist, the micro Michelangelo, you help them out with their hobby. You offer them advice on how to paint, on how to make their maquettes, on how to do whatever they do. And the benefit here is that you have direct contact with those people. You can see how your help is helping them out. You can see the joy on their face. Now the downside is that you will have to spend a lot of time with those mentees, one-on-one, saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. And so if you're not that type of person, perhaps pick something else. Okay, we are getting into the big guns, the career-changing income streams, the almighty amazing income streams, the tried and true income streams that have been going on for hundreds of years. Online courses. Now, before you go and attack this income stream, people have been doing this for a while. Rembrandt was creating courses. Hokusai was creating courses. And so the idea that this is forbidden territory for artists is just laughable. This is laughable. The benefit here is that you can create a passive income stream once it is recorded. You can sell it. People can enroll at any time, and you don't actually have to spend time anymore unless you will do live Q&As and all of that stuff. But just the course in and of itself is completely passive. The downside is that this will take a lot of time. You will need an audience or massive amounts of money to market the course, but also a lot of time in writing out the entire course, recording the whole course. People say that it takes about the same amount of time to write a book as create a good course, and so take that into account. Now, a little side note here. It is the 21st century. This is the golden age for art. This is the ultimate opportunity. Hokusai would have created online courses. Rembrandt would have created online courses. Picasso would have created online courses. All of them would have created online courses. This is a golden opportunity for a passive income stream as an artist that is capable of creating content as a professional, because that is what artists are. They create content on a professional basis. Whether it's paintings or music or courses, it's all kind of the same thing. Number 9. Patreon allows you to have your own corner on the website where you will be giving people things. And in exchange, people will pay you on a monthly basis. So you have your own subscription model, your own community where people pay on a monthly basis. You can do live videos, you can do drawings, you can do all sorts of stuff in this thing. Now, the benefit here, the main benefit is that you get a monthly recurring revenue stream, so you know exactly how much you are going to make every single month. The downside is that you might be working a 40-hour work week, and so then you work 40 hours, you're tired, you get home, you still have to do this Patreon thing, you have these commitments with your customers on Patreon, you don't want to do it, and now you're sitting there, you want to watch Netflix instead, and you have to do this thing on Patreon and watch Netflix instead. Look, I didn't say that this was going to be easy. This is a hard trajectory either way. The downside is that you will have to spend a lot of time on a monthly basis. Number 10, using the 21st century amazing technology to your benefit by hosting live online workshops. Now the benefit here is that you can do it remotely from anywhere in the world, and people who can't attend the real workshops can actually attend them online. Perhaps there are some people who are handicapped, people that have some kind of limitations, physical limitations, they can't transport themselves, and with these live workshops they can. The downside is that, well, it's live workshop online in the arts. People probably, if they have a chance to do real life workshop closely, locally, via live workshop online, most people probably pick the real life one. 11. Offering your art as digital downloads or your process and materials that you use as digital downloads. We're thinking about digital brushes and LUTs and all sorts of stuff that artists use, but also PDFs or other materials. Now, the benefit here is that you don't have to do anything. People just download it magically from the internet, and they pay with invented money, just made up numbers on the screen, magically through the internet, and you don't have to do anything. The fulfillment is all automatically. The downside is that people can also pirate this whole thing. They can steal it and put it online for free on whatever pirated websites that they use, and then you don't actually have a competitive market advantage because people can just download it for free, and they will. Number 12, offering some of your art as stock art or offering some of your reference photos as stock photos on websites. The benefit here is that you basically don't have to do anything. You've already made it. You can just put it online, and if people like it and download it and use it, you will be getting money. The downside, something that you see coming. AI will replace those people. Soon, a couple of years from now probably, we will have stock footage websites where people just, or people don't even use stock footage websites anymore because they can get it for free from AI on demand whenever they want, and they even have a little bit of feeling that they've created it by putting in the prompt. Number 13, being smart, stepping into a new market that nobody else is doing yet so that you can circumvent all of that insane saturated art stuff, namely stepping into virtual reality and making virtual reality art, and then with your virtual reality art and your virtual reality blockchain, you will protect it and turn it into a one-of-kind virtual reality income stream. The upside is that this is new, not a lot of competition there, and if this whole thing blows up, then you are at the forefront of a completely new type of art. The downside is that this might actually never happen. VR might never take off, and then you spend all of the time on something that never actually happened. Number 14, selling pattern designs. All of the things that you see around you, the bottles that you buy, the t-shirts that you buy, the wallpaper, the footage, just anything that you can imagine has patterns on them. Sometimes that is designed by the designer that makes the product, but oftentimes those patterns are bought from people who design patterns. This could be you. The benefit here is that you get royalties for every product that's being sold. You get this passive income stream coming for eternity, basically. Not for eternity, there are some rules, but for a long time. Now the downside is that this is going to take a long time to build this whole thing up. First you need to contract, you need the relationships with the manufacturers, they need to trust you, they need to want to work with you, you need to break into this market, and then you're also competing with the big companies that are already doing that. And then there's also AI, and AI might come in and destroy all the patterns because it will make patterns better than any human being on the planet. And this is, yeah, look, the whole AI thing is a danger for everything. Deal with it, you know. Number 15, the amazing way to live for free while getting paid while making art, aka artist residencies. Artist residencies are a place where you will be dedicating a couple of months of your life to make art. If you apply and you get access, you will probably also get a stipend, so $1,000, $2,000 a month to make your art, and in exchange you oftentimes give art away at the end of the whole thing, but that's about it. Now the downside here is that applying is extremely competitive and extremely time intensive, and you don't get anything while you are applying. You are practicing a skill that is not that valuable in the world, namely applying and asking for things. Number 16. getting rid of the galleries, getting rid of the traditional exhibitions, the solo exhibition, and tapping into the world of virtual reality exhibitions. Now, the benefit here is massive. You can go beyond borders, beyond countries, and get everyone around the world into your exhibition. This is massive. I did a lot of exhibitions myself. I've exhibited in London, in Berlin, Milan, Buenos Aires, all over the world. And one of the problems is that those collectors that I got in Buenos Aires, they don't hear from me. There is no exhibition anymore in Buenos Aires right now, and so I'm kind of losing a lot of those connections. A virtual reality exhibition would be able to bring them all together. The downside, however, is that it's virtual. They can literally see the pictures on Instagram for free. They don't have to go to that exhibition. And so it's going to be a hard time to get them to come to your virtual reality exhibition, whatever that even means. Number 17, being one of the smartest people in the world and thinking about what you can do. Oh, you know what? Look at what is working very, very well. Go on Amazon and see what the best-selling books are in the arts. And what will you see? What will you find? That the best-selling books in the art world are art journaling prompt books, or art therapy books. These things where people can just fill in the blanks in the pages. It's like a prompting book. Millions of copies sold. So you could be making those. The benefit here is that it's very easy to make. It's extremely lucrative to sell. It's very passive. The downside is that you have to sell it. You have to break into that market. You probably need an audience that is already big or massive amounts of money to drive traffic. Number 18, selling to the people who have a lot of money and want to spend a lot of money, or the people who don't have a lot of money but also want to spend a lot of money. Namely, selling calligraphy services or art services to businesses, corporations, or people who have weddings. Calligraphy, live calligraphy, where you're lettering people's names on the wedding, things like that. Particular business events where you go and you do live calligraphy, or you do calligraphy on the walls for promotion, advertisement, calligraphy on the windows, whatever it is. So the benefit here is that people want to spend during those events, these corporate events and wedding events. Downside is that you're going to spend your life doing calligraphy on events. Yeah. Number 19, creating art installations for corporations with money to spend on artistic stuff for their employees' well-being inside of the corporation. This is massive. Lots of artists are doing this. Now, there's one artist who went smart about it. He was making murals for Facebook. What is his name again? He has a YouTube channel nowadays as well. What is his name again? Anyway, so he was making murals for Facebook. In exchange, he didn't got money for that. He got stock options from Facebook. Facebook became one of the biggest companies in the world, and he made over 100 million in stock options from that. And so you could use this strategy and literally go to companies that you believe in, offer some artistic service, get some stock options or some equity in exchange for that, and you could become a millionaire by letting those companies do the work and make their stocks more expensive. Now, the downsides here with these massive art installation projects specifically is that they will come with massive upfront costs to make the installation in the first place, and so that's a thing to take into account. Number 20, sharing your knowledge through a blog. This is a great opportunity to build an audience, but also sell on top of that. One of the benefits is that you can sell anything. You can sell sponsorships, you can do advertisements on the blog, you can do affiliate marketing, you can sell your own projects, you can sell your own artworks, you can sell anything in the world. The downside, however, is that this will require a lot of skills from you, writing skills, because this is a very competitive marketplace. On top of that, it's also under threat by AI. What if AI comes along and becomes better than human beings at writing and can do it on an extremely fast scale? Then, well, yeah, this industry will just be wiped out. Number 20, creating an art podcast. I recently saw a YouTube video from a podcast created by artists in a van, And that video, the second video on their channel, got 100,000 views instantly in a couple of weeks. And so there's massive opportunity here. Everybody is complaining about how saturated the art market is. Millions of artists are fighting in the art market. It's absolutely impossible. And how many art podcasts are there that I know of? One of Sotheby's and Christie's or something, and that one sucks. And then this one. There are no art podcasts that I know of that are good. Now the downside, of course, is that it will take a lot of time to build up that audience. 100,000 views in your second video is very unlikely to happen. You also need upfront cost, microphone investments, audio investments, all sorts of investments, and without any guarantee that it will work. Number 22, one that you're very familiar with, selling original art. This is great because it can go up in price a lot. You could sell artworks at $1 million price point or for tens of millions of dollars if you know how to market and you know how to play that game. So the upside is huge. The downside is that it's very competitive. Every artist wants to sell original art, and it's going to take a very long time before you actually manage to do so. Now, if you're interested in doing this, because this is of course the coolest way to make money as an artist, you can actually sell original art at high price points. I have a program called the Artist Formula where I explain my exact blueprint. I explain how to go and sell your art at any price point. There are artists in that formula, in that community, that sell at the 2K price point, but also at the 10K price point, $20,000 price point, whatever price point basically. So you can learn from them, you can learn from me. It's going to be amazing. 23. Offering freelance work where you will be designing all sorts of stuff, from books, from animations to PDFs, whatever design that you prefer. The benefit here is that you can make some money on the side, you can work from wherever, you can do and be your own boss. The downside, however, is that you will be competing against people from Bangladesh who can afford to live at $3 a day because that's their whole life setup. And sure, they might not be at your level of design, but who cares, you know? But there's constant work, and as the online world grows, these types of jobs will be more and more in demand. For example, at the end of this video, I will be giving away a free PDF that is over 50 pages long that took the designer that designed all of the things on this PDF, because I obviously don't do that, probably a week. That's a week worth of work for one video that somebody created. And so lots of demand here. Number 24, this one is probably over 500 years old. Probably even longer, who knows? I don't actually know. Probably thousands of years old. Taking on commissions for important people that have the finances to take on those commissions. Now, the benefit here is that you will be making art with 100% certainty selling rate. So you make the art, but you already know that it's going to sell. And you already know how much money you will make. And you already know how much time you can afford to spend on this that is worth it for the money that you are going to get. Now, the downside is that you will be giving up some of your creative freedom. You will have deadlines. You will have to work on a schedule. You will have to interact with a person that is actually paying you, that has a say in the whole thing. You might actually not like that person very much at all times, but you will have to take the money because you don't have enough money. And so people who are very, very introverted are probably not the type of persons that can do this. Number 25, selling to people who are constantly making money and then need to spend that money in order to make more money, aka businesses, and then you can sell your graphic design work to those businesses. Graphic design for the websites, for their lead magnets, for their books, for their presentations, for all sorts of stuff. Now, the benefit here is, of course, that you're working with businesses who have money to spend. The downside is that this is very competitive. A lot of people are doing that, and the pay that you will be receiving for your services will not be that high, especially now that AI is taking over a lot of that stuff. Number 26, selling merchandise, mugs, book covers, phone covers, pillowcases, t-shirts, whatever you can name, and not using print-on-demand services, which was the first point in this list. But this time you are going to create this for yourself with inventory so that you can make more profit and make more money. Now, this is a great one if you're an artist and you have a following, but you have a difficult time of making art that solves a problem for people. T-shirts, that solves a problem for people. Phone cases, that solves a problem for people. And so this is a very easy way to offer something that is useful. Now the downside here is that you will need an audience beforehand, and the profit margins are not that great. You will always have to fight against regular prices for t-shirts. You can't just charge $700 for a t-shirt. Nobody will ever buy this. Number 27, bringing a lot of people who want to make art, who want to improve their art skills together in a real life workshop as a professional artist. Now this is a very powerful one. The benefit here, the main benefit, is that you can see how you are improving people's lives, students' lives, in their faces. You cannot see this with an online course, for example. Now the downside, unlike with online courses, that the potential upside here is way less in terms of finances. You will have to be there. You will have to spend your time. You will have to exchange your time for money, just like in a regular job, because that's kind of the point of a real life workshop. And so you cannot actually generate passive income, and you cannot actually scale it the same way you can with online courses. But then again, if you're very smart about it, you can do real life workshops, and then you can record those real life workshops, record them with recording software like cameras, and then put it online. Sell that recording of that real life workshop if you have the permission of the people that were there at the real life workshop, of course. This is what comedians do all of the time. They have these shows, and then they record the shows, and then they sell the recording of the show. I mean, this works. Number 28, this one is great for artists who just want to make the art. They don't want to do any of the marketing. They don't want to do any of the selling. They don't want to do any of the business side of things. They just want to make art and enjoy life as a creative by collaborating with galleries who take 50% commissions. Now the benefit here is that you can use their status and their authority, and then kind of wrap your art in a little bit more of grandeur, a little bit more of prestige that can demand higher price points. The downsides here is that the original section that I just sketched, no marketing, no sales, no business, is actually bullshit. You will have to do marketing in order for those galleries to be interested, and also they take 50% commission, which is a lot. Now, if you are interested in this journey, if you want to be represented by a gallery, I have a full section, a full module on how to get into a gallery, the only way to get into a gallery in the 21st century, in my community course, The Artist Formula, link in the description. Let's go to number 29. Number 29, participating in pop-up shops, where you will sell your art in a pop-up shop during a particular event. This is great because you now have natural urgency. The only time that people can buy your stuff is during this particular event. And after the event is over, they can't buy your stuff anymore, so they will never be able to get it, and they really want your stuff, and so now they have to buy it during this event. This is natural urgency that is in your favor. Now the downside, I don't know if you've noticed, but during those events, the postcards and the little prints and the little necklaces, they don't really sell for a lot of money. And so the downside is that this is capped. This is a capped way that will take a lot of time, but might also be cool because you're standing on all of those events. Number 30, offering print license of your art for various businesses. We are thinking about, for example, the IKEA businesses that have these artworks on massive scale in all of their shops that people can buy, and then they have a cheap version of a real artwork that they can hang in their home and things like that. This is a great opportunity because you will be making massive amounts of money passively without you having to do anything. Now the downside is that it's very hard to get into this stuff, and usually the people that I know that are making lots of money with this, these are people that are connected. They just simply have the connections. They have the luck of the draw, that they met the right person at the right time, that was some kind of decision maker in a particular company that then gave them that project. And so if you don't have this, then it's going to be very hard for you to collaborate with big companies that can make this massive for you. Number 31, if you're an artist that is interested in illustration, take a look at children books. This is a niche market that is massive because children will be part of this planet for a very long time. And on top of that, the benefit here is that you as an illustrator will get royalties for your work if you negotiate it properly. And so if you make the next Little Prince, then you will be getting royalties for a very, very long time. Now the downside is, of course, that it needs to be good, it needs to sell, it needs to be promoted, and if it doesn't get promoted, then your royalties will be peanuts and your paycheck will be rudimentary. Number 32. I know a lot of artists that make original art and then on the side they start doing some tattoo artwork. Now here's the interesting part there. Tattoo artwork is way more beneficial for people. It solves an actual problem that people have. Oftentimes that one takes off and then the original art ciphers away and then they kind of become a tattoo artist. The downside is that you will be working with people, which is not nice for people who don't want to work with people. Number 33. Developing some kind of art website or art app where you help artists out. For example, you can make a drawing tool that works very well. You can make a database of nude sketch reference photos that people can use to improve their sketching, or an app that helps them improve their sketching, or all sorts of stuff that you could do for other artists. Interestingly, the benefit here is that you as an artist know that market very well, and so serving those people as an artist is going to be much easier than somebody who doesn't understand anything of art. And artists have been doing this all of the time. Da Vinci was developing stuff, he was inventing all sorts of stuff. Your creations, your entrepreneurial endeavors as an artist don't need to stick to art and art only. You can go beyond that. The downside is, of course, that you will need some kind of technical skill. You will need to know stuff about websites, about apps, about coding, or collaborate with people who know things about that, and then use your audience to drive traffic that they don't have because they don't have an audience, because they are a nerd and they're doing coding and they've been in their room on their computer typing away all day long. Number 34, upgrade your skill level a little bit so that you have some animation skills and then you can work for big TV shows or big series. And the benefit is, of course, that you can work with big TV shows and big series. Now the downside is that this animation industry is a very competitive industry that has a lot of people that want to do animation, and a little secret between us, they don't really treat their employees that well. And so what I would actually recommend you to do is to leave that side of the animation world behind and tap into the new emerging animation world, which is YouTube. There are massive amounts of very famous YouTubers with 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 subscribers that don't have a whole animation team. As a matter of fact, they don't even do animation on their videos. You could offer your services to them. You could even go as far as to offer your services to them for free. And then you can say, well, I worked with insert big YouTuber name. And so a very easy way to get authority on your CV. Now, I would not recommend you to offer your services for free because that's bullshit, and then you don't get any money and then you're just a work slave that is working for free without getting paid. Number 35, creating a book around your art. Let's say you have a whole collection of original art, or 2 collections, or 3 collections, or 4 collections. Turn that collection into a book where you have some explanations of your art, you have your art listed, it's all very beautiful with the best lighting and the best editing and the whole thing amazing. The benefit here is that you can use that book to add authority and add value and quality to the art that you make, the original art that you make, because now you're not just an artist that makes original art. No, you are an artist that has art books written about your work. That's how important your work is. Now the downside is, by the way, this is something that a lot of these galleries are doing massively. They are always creating books around the artists for this specific purpose so that the art looks more important than they actually are. The downside is that this book itself will not sell that much. Almost nobody is going to buy this book. Number 36, selling the amazing limited edition pieces. Limited edition prints, limited edition shoes, limited edition mugs, limited edition woodblock prints, limited edition all over the place. The benefit here is, of course, that limited edition is scarce, and scarce drives sales, and sales generates money for you. And so this is a very positive thing. Now the downside is, of course, that this is a whole limited edition section, meaning that let's say you have a limited edition print and a print does extremely well and blows up and everybody wants it, but you already told the people that it's limited edition and only has 50 pieces. But now there's a demand for hundreds of pieces and you can't sell it anymore because it's limited edition. And so what do? Well, you go and make a piece that is very similar to that piece that was very popular by people. And now the people that bought it at the 50 pieces thing limited are now angry that you made another piece that is very similar to that piece that they wanted for limited edition 50 pieces, and now the whole thing blows up. And so limited edition drives interest, but also when that interest is there, it is capped, which can be a downer. Number 37, art direction services, where you will direct a magazine or anything of that nature. You might, for example, organize an exhibition for other artists where you are the curator, also some kind of art director. And so the benefit here is that you will be working on great projects, working with great people, and getting paid for your service. The downside is that it has barely anything to do with art anymore. Of course, Dries, number 37. Of course you get to 60 plus income streams for artists if you include these things that are barely art related, of course. Look, here's the thing. The amount of artists, famous artists that you would know that also created exhibitions for other artists that were some kind of art director slash artist or art curator slash artist is massive. And so these are just real revenue streams that artists can tap into, especially if they don't sell anything, for example. Number 38, selling art supplies, having your own line of art supplies, for example, your own line of brushes or your own line of sketchbooks or your own line of specialty paints or your own line of anything that you can imagine. Now the benefit here is of course that you will gain a lot of authority from that. If people see that you have your own line of brushes, that must mean that you are a very important person that has his own line of brushes, for example. And so not only are you creating an alternative revenue stream for you, you also increase the current revenue streams that you already have. Now the downside is of course that there's a lot of manufacturing, a lot of logistics. You have to comply with regulatory demands and requirements in various countries. You have to invest a lot of upfront cost for the marketing side of things, or you need a lot of audience members that can buy your brushes because they really like your brushes and they really like your style of painting, and they believe that the only way to paint in your way is by using your tools. Number 39, participating in art competitions and actually winning them so that you get the cash prize. The benefit here is of course that if you win competitions, not only do you get that prize, your artwork goes up in value. People might become familiar with your art because of the award and think that you're a super good artist because you've outcompeted all of these other artists, and now they feel more comfortable buying from your stuff, buying your original work, buying your prints, buying anything that you have to offer. And so this is great. The downside, however, is that if this is your sole income stream, competitions, you will not be making any money. On top of that, participating in competitions is a lot of work and you don't actually get anything if you don't win. So that's all lost time for nothing. Yeah, I forgot the lights for this entire video, so let's add some lights in the background. What the f***? Whoa! Number 40, creating and selling printables. Now the benefit here of printables is of course that they are in demand. People want to have planners, people want to have these printable type of objects. And so this is a very easy way for you to create something for the audience that you already have established, because that is going to be necessary in order to sell those things, that is useful for their lives, things that they can use and get benefits from. Now the downside of this is that if you don't have an audience, then you will have to sell on online marketplaces like, for example, Etsy. And these marketplaces are very competitive. And on these marketplaces you will have to upgrade your designs constantly. And on these marketplaces you will constantly have to make new things in line with the existing demands, in line with new trends, in line with new things, you know. And so that's a lot of effort for mediocre return. Number 41, using the things that you already know, the things that you can already do to make money. True consulting services. Now the benefit here is that because you are an expert, because you are a Michelangelo, because you are a superstar yourself, a super smart person that is an expert in this particular area, you can demand higher fees. I've explained how to become an expert without any effort by never actually becoming one of the best in a particular field in one of my videos called How to Manage Multiple Interests and Outperform 99% of People. Now, the downside of this particular consulting game is that you will need to be perceived by other people as being an expert that is very powerful in a particular industry, in a particular skill, in a particular thing that they have to offer. And so this is not for beginners. This is for advanced to intermediary people. Number 42. Oh my God, you have never heard of this one before in your entire life. Make social media content. Now the benefit here is that as you are making content, you will be getting AdSense automatically without you having to do anything while you are making content, aka while you are developing your brand. And so you are getting branding benefits as well as AdSense benefits. The downside is of course that AdSense is not that much. And so this is a lot of effort, a lot of time investment for something that is going to benefit you massively in the long term once that brand has been established. Number 43, a little upgrade to our previous point, selling sponsorships through your social media platform. Now the benefit here is that you will be getting way more money from your sponsorships than from your AdSense. To give you an example, and technically speaking, I cannot talk about this. Who the fuck cares, okay? I got some sponsorship on this channel, 30-second spots, and for 2 30-second spots, I got paid $1,500 from a company. I can technically not share that online. I guess, whatever, I'm not a normie creator. Anyway, that's a lot of money for 30 seconds for a channel that doesn't have a lot of subscribers yet. And so these are real numbers. If you are gaining subscriber counts online, businesses nowadays know the value of that. And you as an artist have a unique proposition, namely that you've been making content your entire life. And so you already know how to make content. You already know how to entertain and be interesting for people. Now the downside is of course that you will need to build an audience before you can benefit from this. And building an audience, as you probably know, is very hard. Number 44, licensing your art to bigger companies who want to use your art on stationery, apparel, all sorts of stuff. Now the benefit here is of course that they do all the selling and all the marketing and all the logistics and all the manufacturing and all the everything. And you just sit there, relax and let the money come in through royalty fees. Now the downside is that they need to see a benefit in using your art, meaning that you need to have some kind of fame within a particular niche so that they can make products within that niche targeting people, and then the whole thing works. Number 45, let's say that you have a project in mind, a beautiful future for a product that you are developing, but you don't have any money to develop the product. You don't have any people that can actually build a product that is inside of your mind. And so what do? You go to crowdfunding websites, and on those crowdfunding websites you explain your project and the future of the project, and then people will buy the product prior to the product existing, and then you can use that money to make the product in the first place. We are talking about Kickstarter websites or Indiegogo or any of those crowdfunding websites. Now the downside here is that running a campaign like this requires marketing efforts or an already established audience, and you don't have any guarantee that you will get the money because the funding project needs to be fully funded before you get anything. Number 46, painting on live events like weddings or corporate events or festivals. Now the benefit here is that as you are painting on these events that have a crowd that is brought there, not by you, but by other people who have marketed it, in that crowd, you will find your new customers. And so as you are getting customers, you find new customers as you go along, and you don't have to do any marketing and all of that stuff. Now, the downside is that you have to paint live, meaning that you have to be able to handle with the pressure of people watching as you paint along, criticizing you, perhaps having a strange eye, perhaps saying something strange, and it is not for introverts. A good example of this is this Gibraldi guy or something. I will put his name on the screen because I pronounced it wrong and I probably forgot the name. But anyway, he paints on live events, auction events, gala events, charity events. And then he auctions his live painting, his speed painting that he just created on that same event. And sometimes he sells that for $10,000. Sometimes, if it's a high-level event, he can sell that for up to $500,000 right there on the spot. Number 47. Art handling services for museums and galleries and all of those institutions that need art handling services. Now the benefit here is that you are developing connections within the industry. You already know stuff about art, you already know how to handle art, you already know how to transport art, and you're building those connections out. The downside is of course that you will have to not be a boss of your own, but an employee of somebody else. And so some people don't want to do that. Now, a lot of artists, famous artists, started out in those types of rudimentary jobs where they were, for example, art handlers. I'm not 100% certain, but I think Basquiat was one of those people. I should check it, but who cares? There are numerous artists that were art handlers before they became famous and got connections through those types of jobs. Number 48, selling 3D models to gaming companies, to film companies, to 3D printing companies. You sell assets to them. The upside here is that this is a new market. There are not a lot of artists doing this. I've seen some videos about 3D stuff now popping up and they get massive amounts of views as well because nobody is doing this. There are not a lot of artists within that space. The downside, of course, is that you will need to develop a new skill set. You will need to develop a new expertise, probably with degrees that come along with that. Number 49, creating art for board games or just simply designing your own board game yourself, your own card game, things like that. Now the benefit here is that artists already have the skill sets to do the whole goddamn thing themselves, which means that they don't have to outsource things and they don't have to collaborate with people. They can just do the whole thing. The downside is that if you are not doing it all yourself, you will have to work for people on strict deadlines with revisions all over the place and all sorts of complications. Number 50, hosting art retreats, where you will be giving people a weekend or a whole week retreat where they can meet you and make art or do whatever you want them to do. The benefit here is that you are fostering a community, a powerful community in real life. And the downside is that there's a lot of logistics involved, a lot of planning, a lot of preparation that artists might not be good at. A good example of this is Alex Gray, who has his whole Alex Gray temple where he does meditation retreat type of stuff. And I've known galleries that require their artists to do this because that is their main selling point. People need to buy art in order to go on this retreat. And so the art purchase is kind of a ticket, an entry ticket to that retreat and the whole thing. So this is a very powerful strategy that is being deployed by lots of artists in the marketplace. Number 51, making augmented reality art. Now the benefit here is of course that you are avant-garde, that you are fighting at the front lines, that you are the cutting edge, the new, and that you are tapping into a market that doesn't really exist yet. And so there are huge benefits connected to that. If you look at Bieber, for example, who was doing this whole NFT thing, he went from 10K a month to millions in a matter of weeks because he benefited from that whole NFT wave. Now the downside is of course that you will need some kind of technology knowledge that you probably don't have at this moment. I wouldn't know how to do the whole AR, augmented reality thing as we speak. So number 52. Now let's imagine that you have a studio space and you are lonely in your studio space. You're constantly working alone. You're so-called an introvert, but deep down inside you don't actually like that type of loneliness. And you have all of this space. It's absolutely huge. What you could do is rent out a portion of that space to other artists. There are constantly artists searching for space. Now you not only have an income stream, money coming in, you also make friends. Now the downside is that you might bring in somebody that you don't actually like, and you also have to do the whole managing, rental type of stuff, logistics. Perhaps there are some issues, you never know. Number 53. The real estate people, they want their homes to look absolutely gorgeous. And how are they going to do that? By putting absolutely gorgeous and amazing objects inside of their properties. And what are amazing and gorgeous objects? Artworks, of course. And so you could do this whole art staging, home rental, real estate business where you sell your art as home staging services, and then the art will also be sold once the property is sold. Oftentimes if people like the art that is hanging in the home, which niches most of the time. And so now you are getting two revenue streams. One from the art sales after the house is being sold, and then also from renting the art as a home staging aspect. Now the downside is of course that during that rental period, which is probably not gonna bring in that much money, your art is tied up. You can't sell it anywhere else. And so that renting period might be for a very long time. Number 54. Tapping into existing markets that are very closely related to your art market. For example, doing art-based meditation sessions. Now the benefit here is that you are working with people in real life, that there's a clear, concise benefit that they are getting from this. It's not only meditation sessions, but they are going home with artwork as they go along. And so this is kind of an upgrade to that whole meditation vibe. Now the downside is that you need to be an adept meditator yourself, or whatever industry that you would go into. A good example of this type of practice is, again, Alex Gray, who has this whole meditation spiritual center built where people come together and have this whole spiritual experience on top of the art that he makes. This is a very tried and true recipe. Number 55, creating art for medical and scientific illustrations. You will be making the illustrations in the textbooks in the universities and the schools and all of that stuff. Now the benefit here is that if those theories that you are working on of other people catch on and become one of the foundational theories, then your art will be seen for hundreds of years. I'm thinking, for example, about Da Vinci's anatomical drawings that were originally made for medical journals. They are still being used today, 500 years later, in medical journals as we speak. And so collectors know this. They know that this ongoing type of marketing could happen if you are good at this and you're working with the right people and all of that stuff. Now the downside is that you will need technical skill. You will need to actually understand those theories in order to make those illustrations in the first place. And so this is not for everyone. Number 57, you are one of those superstar geniuses. And so you live in one of those superstar genius countries where the taxes are absolutely through the roof. 21% VAT, and then if you make profits, you pay taxes on that. And if you have a house, you pay taxes on that. And if you give that to your children, you pay taxes on that as well. And if you get something from somebody, you pay taxes. And if you work a job, you pay taxes. You constantly pay taxes. And what do they do with those taxes? Nothing. They just put it in their pockets, or put it in the pockets of the businesses, or build stupid fucking roads that take 16 years to finish. But you are mistaken, because the government also spends it on art projects, public art projects. And so you could apply for those public art project commissions, get those funds coming in, taxpayer funds, and then build those massive public art projects out. Now the benefit here is of course that you are getting taxpayer money for a change instead of spending it. And you also erase all of the competition because not a lot of people are competing against this. The downside is that it is still somewhat competitive. You will have to craft your skills, your application skills, your grant writing skills, and then you will have to spend time writing those grants. Number 58, making art for non-profit organizations like charities and the likes. The benefit here is of course that you are doing something good. You can feel good about your life. And the downside is that you're probably restricted to those organizations in the first place. Now I've mentioned this Gribaldi guy, which is a very good example of this. This guy is doing live paintings during particular auction events, then selling them off, auctioning them on those charity events for sometimes up to $500,000. Now this is a charity event. Of course he's not getting all of that money. That money is going to the charity and all of that stuff. But the price point for those artworks is set. And he is getting new clients on those events that will pay him for the live painting. And then he's also doing auctioning there. And then he sells that as well. And the whole ball goes round. Number 59. Creating merchandise and other merchandise-like products for niche markets. Now the benefit here is that these big corporations are not going for niche markets. They want the big markets. They want to sell to everyone. And so there's this huge gap of small niche markets, some of them being extremely lucrative because nobody is playing on them. The downside is that this will require you to understand supply and demand, understand the marketplace, doing a lot of research on which niches are underserved, and then doing testing and the whole thing. And so this will require a lot of time investment before you become proficient enough to make this work. Number 60, selling NFTs. The amazing NFTs on the amazing blockchain with the amazing Dogecoins and Bitcoins and all of that stuff. Now, the benefit here is that the whole Bitcoin stuff, this whole Bitcoin game might actually become the world's currency in some kind of future. And so if you have 10 years of experience in that market, if you have 15 years of experience and you've built out connections and it becomes the world's currency, which a lot of people believe, then you've obviously positioned yourself in the perfect manner. Now, the downside is that the whole NFT space at this moment, not 2 years ago, not 2 years from now, but at this moment is kind of in the scammer space. A lot of people are getting all of these Instagram messages of NFT scams. And so if you go into this market, you might dilute your brand and be perceived as some kind of scammer yourself because you're not a scammer. You're not a scammer, but they will perceive you as such. Now, a good example of an artist that went into the space is people who was selling nothing. He had some Instagram followers but wasn't selling anything. Nobody cared at the price points of people because there were no price points to be admired. And then suddenly he sold a piece for 1.6 million. A couple of weeks later, another piece for $60 million in the whole NFT space. In a matter of 3 months, this guy started to make massive amounts of money. Why? Because he tapped into this new space as one of the early players, was extremely lucky, probably got involved in some guy that wanted to manipulate the whole Bitcoin thing and he just benefits from that. But you get to see that being early in those spaces is oftentimes very beneficial. I've turned this entire 60-page list into a free PDF where I also added which of these I think are the most lucrative ones and the best ones to go into right now. Link in the description. Now, in order to make this video complete, we also have to talk about how to actually sell in all of those income streams so that you can make money and not be one of those forgotten artists that tries one of these income streams and then fails. I've made a video about that called Everything I've Learned About Promoting and Marketing Your Art in 10 Years. Link in the description and in the end screen. That's it. Get the hell out of here.